I'm Tom, and this is Adult Game Reviews. I know I said I was going to review My Dorm by Promiscuity, but I had no idea it was so long. So I will review My Dorm in the future. This week I was finally able to jump into a game I had my eye on for a while now. I'm reviewing the 1.14 version of PMC Promiscuity by Shuko and Amber Fiend. The first thing that drew me to PMC Promiscuity is the artwork. It's beautiful. But before I talk more, please like the video if you like it and subscribe to see more AGR content. Okay, let's get into it. You don't get much info about the game right away. You're learning about the world as your character does. You're kidnapped by a super secret organization. Did I say kidnapped? I meant you were hired to be a new soldier for the organization by having the elite monster girls take you in your sleep.
It's not a real kidnapping.
You have some background in combat and fighting, having done missions in the dead zones basically. While the Manticore International Organization is moving to a new base of operations, you're all stuck COVID style in a transitional one. There you train, learn, and get to know all 4 of the Monster Girl operatives. Okay, let's get into visuals. Visually, the art style is beautiful. Some scenes remind me of a Van Gogh painting. The girls look beautiful and the backgrounds could also be stunning. However, there were 2 things that disappointed me with the visuals. One, because you're stuck in the base, you tend to see the same character models and backgrounds used on repeat. This made sense in the story, but over time I was really desperate to see something new, which by the end of the character storylines you do get to see. And 2, there are no animations. Now, of the 2, it looks like the lack of animations are going to be addressed. Amber Fiend showed me some updated animations for the spicy scenes that added a bit more life to that type of content. While not full-on animations, they look like GIFs on repeat. With the art style, they look beautiful, but if you're expecting full-on animations, you will likely be disappointed. Now to the audio. There's music and sound effects, which were all good, but one of the best aspects of the game is the voice acting. Each of the girls has a unique voice that really helps set the tone for each character. Right away, each girl had a distinct way of talking that helps separate them from the other girls. You have Adelaide, the elf, with a smooth and soothing French accent.
Our commander has nonetheless insisted that I train you. I foolishly agreed to her suggestion.
To Kiva, the lizard girl that sounds like an over-caffeinated scientist.
From what I'm reading here, you've clearly made a good impression on Shizu.
To Shizu, the kitsune with the gruff, vulgar, and harsh voice.
I'm sorry, I forgot. Who is the boss here?
And Io, the sister kitsune to Shizu. She's the warm but stressed out mother figure.
Though between you and me, I think she rather likes it.
I haven't played a game with voice acting this good since Hush Hush, so that should tell you something because Hush Hush was amazing in that way. So let's move on to the story. The writing is well done. I didn't really notice any spelling or grammatical issues. The story was simple, as I stated before. The plot is kind of light. Right now, if you played PMC Promiscuity without any of the updates the devs have planned, it feels like this could be a complete game right now. This is a small, contained story about getting to know the world you were unceremoniously brought into.
I've been kidnapped by a monster trying to relate to me!
However, there's some good and bad here from my perspective. While the girls were unique and it was fun to get to know them, I didn't really feel connected to them from any emotional perspective. They kind of treat you as an acquaintance. They like you, but are still hesitant to let themselves be emotionally vulnerable with you. You are their tool to de-stress, experiment on, and verbally beat up. Oh, okay, only really Shizu. This changes by the end of the story. One of the last scenes you see is Adelaide open up to you and you actually get to know her as a person, not just the cold hand-to-hand combat trainer you see through the majority of the game. I'm figuring that any or all the emotional connection to the characters will really be explored further in future updates. I will come back in the future to see if this has changed. So there are a few things that I think will really determine who will enjoy this game. 1, this game has minigames. 2, it's kind of sandboxy in presentation, but not really. I will tell you more about this in a second. And 3, the text box is super big. So on to the minigames. The minigames are there to help you increase the relationship with each girl. Let me tell you how this works. First, to get access to a girl's dialogue, you need to have at least 1 heart for your relationship lit up for the girl's story you want to see. When you have access to a larger scene, you have to have all 5 lit up. This means doing the girl's specific tasks. Like Adelaide, you have to go to the gun range and shoot the targets. For Io, you have to do a memory game. Each of these mini games can give you 1 to 3 hearts at a time. It was very easy to get 2 hearts for each girl during each minigame, but getting 3 was a challenge. Now, the minigames themselves are not hard. They are super simple and only last a few seconds. However, after time, they can be a little monotonous. Don't do what I did and fill up your heart meter to 5 each time you talk to a girl, because after a major event, your heart meter is reset, which means you do have to do the mini games frequently. Next, this is technically a sandbox, but I don't really consider it that really. There aren't many choices in general during dialogue. It felt more like a kinetic novel when you're talking to the girls. I didn't really see any of the in-dialogue choices mattering. All the sandbox is that you're allowed to explore whatever girl's story you want when you want to, with some minor exceptions. Io was my favorite, but I needed to do some of the Kiva story quests at times to unlock Io's story. This was all labeled, so there was no guessing involved, so why I said sandboxy and presentation presentation, but for the story, it really doesn't matter that much. So as far as the text box, I've called out other games for having the text box being so big, so I think it would be unfair for me to not call it out here. The bigger issue I had outside of the text box was how the MC's dialogue was labeled. You have the name indicated next to any of the girls who were talking. You don't have a label next to yours, so sometimes it was hard to figure out if you were actually saying what was written or if it was just in your head. I was able to figure that out mostly, but just a stylistic thing from my perspective that could be cleaned up. Lastly, let's talk about the spicy content. Each girl gets approximately 5 spicy scenes. The scenes were well written, but like I said before, until the animations are added, you're just looking at the static render of a scene. Don't get me wrong, they were pretty, but I know people will call this out. So what did I think? The presentation here was amazing. From the artwork to the voice acting, both were top notch. The story could be a bit surface level, but I hope that changes with future updates. So this is a play for me. This was a chill game that doesn't take a whole lot of investment. It will help you escape for the approximate 10 hours of playtime. I would wait for the animations update before jumping in though. I want to thank my backers, and if you haven't seen my top redheads video, you can check that out right here. Thanks again. Until next time.